So this is one of those conversations you have, and they're difficult conversations to have. One of those conversations that I know content creators and brands always sometimes have a friction. And some brands will avoid having this conversation. But I'm very happy that we're doing this conversation towards the end of the sessions, because we've talked about negotiating for a better deal. We've talked about platforms. We've talked about content. And at the end of the day, the question is, how do you measure all these activities? You know, you're running a campaign, you're engaging your brands, you're engaging your audience, but how do you measure the performance of your campaign? And I'm very happy that we have one of the best minds around, and this is a mix, you know, from the agency, from brand, from media. This is one of the best talent to discuss this topic. So as we get started, Molaj, you know, they call you Molaj. You can do a quick introduction and then tell us, before you even get started with measurement, what is it that you need to put together?
Hello, everyone. How are you doing? How are you doing after lunch? I see the energy is down. So my name is Maureen Mutisya. I am the founder of Molaj Media. And aside from Molaj Media, I am a creator myself, proudly so. And aside from that as well, I lead strategy for a health tech, Zuri Health. Wangapi wamewatch kipindi inaitwa Njeri series? Njeri? Okay, go watch Njeri series on YouTube. So what do we do at Molaj Media? We turn chaotic ideas into, you know, campaigns with strategy, structure, and a whole lot of storytelling, right? So my day-to-day looks like strategy all the way to influencer marketing. And I'd like to say one thing about influencer marketing. These days, let me say, back then we were going for the vibes, the pretty pictures, the vibes. An influencer was a cool person. We still are cool people, but these days you just have to bring value to the table. How do you bring value to the table? First of all, we have ways through which we ensure that you bring this value. My number one way of maybe working through which influencer to work with, sipping through their profiles and, deciding that is, would this influencer buy something, this product that you're trying to put out to the market on a normal day? You're trying to sell Infinix, but you use an iPhone. There's a disconnect. So I don't know if I've answered you, Martin Muli.
Yes, I like the direction you've taken, and I want Salim to check in. I know you've done different campaigns for different brands, but how do you determine the outcome of a campaign? Do you set goals and objectives? How do you approach the different campaigns that you do with creators?
Hi everyone, my name is Ahmad Salim. I'm from Disruptive Media, strategy, creative communication, advertising agency. Content creation happens to just be one of the arm of what we do, and there's a lot of things that come in play when a campaign is very successful or whatever the outcome of a campaign. Unfortunately, I sit on the table or side of the table where we are not liked by content creators, but it's a side that has to be done. Hard questions need to be asked and reality has to be faced. What determines a success is the kind of creator we work with, the kind of content we have engaged with from the beginning or from the brief, and the KPIs that we've set for that campaign. And one thing I always say, and even share with my team, who I've seen some already here, I don't know how they sneaked in, a brief is very important. Once you know what you want to achieve, make sure you clarify that brief from the get-go before anything else. because you might think having an influencer is the it thing, but from where we sit, I was listening to the panel before us, and I really was like, shall I just jump in and tell them, no, it's not that, you should do this? Because you see it from a different lens when you're in an agency side, because for us, content creation is just one aspect, one arm for a successful campaign. And all that one content creator does, or the many that you've worked with, needs to align with every moving parts of a campaign. So this comes in with how the visual, the message, the brand ethos, the objective, the KPI, everything. But to bring it back to here, where we're speaking on content creation, the starting point is a brief. Your brief has to be clear. Your KPIs needs to be clear. Is it just about awareness? Is it about conversions? Is it about just vibes and inshallah, as you like calling it? But that has to be clear from the beginning.
Great, Salim. Cedric, Salim talks about the brief and maybe the different deliverables that you need to come up with. But as a creator, we've had a situation whereby sometimes even the objectives are not clear, but the brand will give you a campaign, and then later on they come and say, we expected you to sell, but it was not clear that you expected to sell. As a content creator, at the initial stages of reading, interpreting the brief and coming up with a concept, what are the things that you need to look out for and to clarify so that you're not caught up in post-campaign disagreements?
That's a great question. So, hi, my name is Sad. As he said, I'm a founder of Nzomo. That's a creator marketplace. Basically, a place where brands can go and list jobs, and creators can go and find those jobs and bid on them. I also have been running an agency that's digital focused for the last 15 years now. And a few other different things. So outside of that, the thing that I've been doing the longest for the last 20 years is creating content. I realize that when I said 20 years, some of you are in single digits or non-existent, but it's okay. Yeah, so I've been in this space for a little while, and I think what you've said is a perpetual problem that's always existed. I want to double down on what Ahmed said with regards to the brief being important, and the brief having to kind of be the cornerstone of everything that happens. Having any sort of objectives as a business or any sort of vision for what you want from your campaign without having alignment with the people who are going to be bringing that campaign to life is just a recipe for disaster. And what that means is, on one side, the brand does need to have briefs and the agency does need to know how to communicate them. But on the second side, it also means that you, as the creator and the professional who's taking on this job, needs to know what your job is. And some of that is just doing the due diligence of understanding what the expectations are. So even if you get an unclear brief, it should be upon you to really take it personally to make sure that you know what you're being paid for. The main reason that you get for people not giving you money is that you didn't do what you were supposed to do. So you need to make sure before the work starts, before the cameras go on, before the ring lights and all these other things happen, you're very clear on why that's happening. The second thing is you also need to know what you're capable of delivering. So understand your value, understand your strengths. Don't find yourself in a position where you're being asked to do something that is out of your element and expected to deliver on it. If you are a creator who's fantastic at creating awareness and generating hype, but you're not necessarily the person that's going to drive footfall in the shops, you should be aware of that. And some of that is just learning more about your craft, but more so learning more about your profession. There's a big difference between the two things. One of those is the expression and being able to tell a good story. The other one is being able to deliver a story that sells. So those are the two things I kind of say on the creator side you want to be clear on. Always make sure you know what's expected of you, but always make sure you're clear on what you can deliver well.
It's a good one. Now, we've been talking about a return on investment. And I know one of the things that Jack you've done is you sit both sides. You manage creators, and you're at some point you're also a client. When you're discussing a return on investment, how do you make sure that there's a win-win between the creator and the brand? Because one of the biggest challenges is that creators will just get a brief without the deliverables and expectations, and sometimes people don't want to discuss, especially brands. How do you make sure that there's a win-win, and especially if you're a content creator?
Okay, fair. My name is Jack Owigar, as mentioned earlier, Regional Director at Pulse Kenya and Uganda. So we're a media house, a production house, and an ad agency as well. I was hoping for an easier question, but it's okay. So one of the things we do, I think Sedo, Ahmed, and Maureen have alluded to this already. One, it all boils down to the brief. What does the brand want to achieve? And then number two, what is the brand vis-a-vis influencer fit? So to ensure that number one, whatever product is being pushed out there, service or offering, is aligned to whatever the brand wants to achieve. So different brands have different objectives. Some want awareness, some want footfall, some want sales. So whenever you're looking for that particular content creator, they need to be able to achieve one of the two. You may even have a hybrid. So you may have one influencer targeting awareness, another influencer targeting more of conversions. So once that is clear, you're able to track back and determine what is the ROI. So from where we sit as, let's say, an ad agency, we have certain brands who want awareness. So in that particular scenario, you may find a brand will come and tell us you want this X number of views, X number of reach. So we look for influencers who can basically push that. However, sometimes we may find brands who may come and say, okay, now we want an uptick for a particular product. So now again, the mechanics of the campaign will change. So you may find, instead of doing more storytelling, you may find now you may have to do promo codes. You may have to do tracking codes. So basically, I'm sure people telling you, oh, by the way, I'm doing this kind of product. To get a discount, you may put Jack 101. So now you're checking conversion. Now, what we try to avoid at Pulse is at the end of the campaign, you're looking at a report, you're like, oh my God, we didn't meet the numbers. So we try to also include frequent measuring and monitoring engagements with the influencer and the brands to see whether we're on track. And then if we need to tweak, we need to support, we need to boost, so to ensure that the said ROI is met. In certain scenarios, to be honest, at Pulse, we've had to drop creators if they are not working for the brand at the time, and maybe all collab with other people. So what I really say about some of these briefs and some of these conversations, they are not cast in stone. You can amend, you can tweak, but always have an open and clear line of communication between both brand and influencer, just to avoid any issues on that end.
Yeah, great. You've talked about the different objectives when you're executing a campaign and what you need to measure. So we're talking about creating awareness. You might need to generate leads. You might need to convert. And I know all this come with different matrices and different tools. Salim, what are, if you look at the different objectives, what are the different matrices that we need to look out for, and some of the tools that we can use to measure that? Especially looking at the funnel, what are the different matrices and tools?
So you see, the discussion that was happening earlier, they mentioned that how recruitment is done is through a platform that detects influencers or content creators who may not be known in the beginning. Well, one thing we said, where we said to the agency, we always say, those are great technologies, those are amazing tools that help recruit, but there's one thing that tool does not do. It does not read emotions. And that's where we manually sit most of the time to understand the person we want to work with. Now, 60 to 70%, it's not just the person we're interested in, it's their audience that we're interested in. So you find that X amount ends up becoming, an X person becomes a focus interest point, but it's not because of the person who they are, it's the influence they command. So their audience is where our interest is. So when it comes to metrics and how do we monitor and how do we measure, the usual for us is there's the normal platform-based insights, which is always available on the back end. Those are just textbook stuff for us. It looks good, it's fine, it's there. There are tools we use. We have Meltwater, we have, there's also Sprout that we use. There's listening tools that we also have. But there's nothing that beats a manual audit where we sit and have people go through the performance of a particular content creator. Now, usually, in the beginning, it's always discussed. At the briefing session, we had a brand immersion. You have a sit down with either sometimes client, creative team, content creator, the account management team, finance, everything. And it's very clear that these are your deliverables. These are what you need to achieve for it to be successful. And most times, it's not about the likes for us. It's not about the reach that it did. It's about the impact you had. I'll give you an example. There might be a content creator you work with, and it's very keen to know, because for you tomorrow, you'll be asked these questions, or you'll wonder how do you maneuver around it. You will have a deliverable. So let's look at an example. 2 videos, X amount of likes, X amount of reach. You've checked all the boxes. You've done 2 videos, you've surpassed your reach, you've surpassed your likes, you've surpassed your shares. But then guess what? On your comment section, not a single comment is about your brand or about your product's information. It's about, hey, I like how you dance, or I like your hair, I like your this, I like your that. For a brand, it's a waste. You'll end up paying, yes, but it's a waste. Where is the impact on what you're supposed to do? And that's why you find there's always this wrangle we have with creators where, but don't get me wrong, there's some who are amazingly doing it so well, where you find even the discussions, there's an uptake of a product. We've got so many successful case studies, which I'd love to talk about them as well, where you find that a content creator has pushed influence, and that's when we say they are influencers. I believe the word influencer has been misused today. For me, if you're an influencer, it means you have the ability to convince or influence somebody to take that action or step of what I'm trying to drive you to do. So it comes back to the impact. What was the brand impact? Was there brand love growth? Do people know about the brand? Was there an uptake of whatever it was? If it was a conversion, if it was a sign up, we look at the numbers from that point. It's not just what the platforms give. It's more than that. It's that whole aspect of, have we elevated the brand? Have we changed how the brand is seen on the spaces or with the audiences? And for us, those are the things we also measure to want to continue working with a specific person or a different group of people.
Great, Maureen. Maybe you can just advance a little bit, and as we get towards conversions and we start talking about conversions, you also need to monitor the performance of a campaign. And Jack talked about some codes. What are the different ways that you can monitor the performance of a campaign, especially now that you're working with different content creators?
Okay, so first of all, just like Jack said, it really depends on what you're trying to achieve. Is it awareness? Is it consideration? Is it conversion? And I'd say for awareness campaigns, one of my very, you can't say very favorite, can you? Ndio mko shule. One of my favorite ways to measure awareness is your good old shares, your good old saves. You see, these are very underrated metrics, but the fact that someone has watched this content and they have saved it tells you that they want, they want to look at it later. They consider it for later. when it comes to conversion, of course, you have your UTM links, you have your also social listening tools to tell you what the people are saying about your brand or your campaign. I like to use tools like Keyhole. I like to use Brandwatch. Just to get a more detailed overview of how your campaign did, away from the platform-specific metrics that are just, like Ahmad said, textbook for you, So there are many ways to measure these metrics aside from just, going on, looking at the likes, the comments, the views. I call them vanity. We call them vanity metrics. So yeah, have I answered your question?
Yeah, and as we get just deeper into the matrices and how to measure, there's a lot of conversation around AI, ChatGPT, and how to use ChatGPT for analytics and to generate insights. And I think, Cedric, you've been big with AI and data. How can we use some of these tools to make sure that we generate more insights, especially from the analytics for campaigns?
Okay. So there are two things that I kind of want to preface as I answer that. The first thing is just doubling down again on what Ahmed is saying. It seems like today I'm just here to hype you up, man. It's okay. This is the reward of knowing me. Anyway, so the first thing is just what he said about the human aspect. It's important to realize that there are some things that are intangible. I asked this question earlier to another panel, partially because it's a question without an answer. How do you measure relatability? How do you measure believability? How do I decide that I would buy from you and not you if this is the first time I'm seeing you? And we know that's what TikTok does. It just makes it that this is the first time I'm seeing you. We know that's how platforms are behaving now that we're moving in this new realm of algorithms determining what content you see. There are certain things that genuinely depend on the human feeling that you get, but also depend on the human outcome that occurs. Now, the second thing I want to also add to that is that when it comes to measuring, I think there is a need to kind of restructure how we know things. A lot of what we do, a lot of the objectives we set now are based on how marketing worked many years ago. We still look for awareness and then consideration and then conversion and then engagement after that. Right now, the way things work is if you see something and you like it, you engage at that point. It's not after buying it, right? There's also very differently a different experience that happens where if I see something and I'm considering it, the Infinix over there looks interesting and I'm considering buying a phone, the first thing I'm going to look for is reviews. At what point does search become, part of this funnel? So I think there's a need to rethink how we structure objectives, how we structure what success looks like, so that we can be able to measure the right thing. I say that to say that when it comes to how we use AI, this is where it comes in. Because what's happening now is that it's become a lot more complex, it's become a lot more granular, it's become a lot more atomized. The objective, the top line objective, if it is to educate, for example, that's not an objective we can measure with a KPI. It's not a metric we can measure with like specific metrics unless we get all these people, including the ones who left and the ones who come back, and put them and make them sit a test. There's no way we can tell how effective this panel was. But that's something that AI can do. And that's something that we can be able to kind of train and teach different models to achieve. That's something we spent, shameless plug, that's something we spent a lot of time with Nzomo, just building analytical and predictive AI within the system. So right now it is at the very base, a very simple model, but the goal that we're looking for is to be able to learn the behaviors and learn the outcomes and train against those, so that not only are we able to advise brands that these are the creators you should work with who can deliver against this objective, but we're also able to tell you as a creator that these are the spaces you should be playing in if you want to be able to develop your influence. Because another thing that was said, I'm not sure who said this, I think it was Mo, is, influencers and creators, the kind of, actually it might have been Ahmed again, so triple down, gets more props. But creators and influencers are not the same thing. And making money as a creator is not limited to making money as an influencer. The day is called International Creator Day. There's so many other ways that you as individuals with stories to tell and platforms to tell them on can make money. And what we need to do as the people who interface with the brands is introduce them to the ways where you present yourself authentically. That doesn't come off like you sitting there reading a hostage note. This is the Infinix 50. And no, say it how you say it, do it how you do it, because that's how people believe you. That's where believability is. That's where accessibility is. That's where relatability is. And those are the things that I think AI can do for us. Let it interpret the difficult part so that we can be able to do what we're good at. We come up with the briefs, we talk to the clients, you guys tell your stories, and we're able to make all of that work in such a way that none of us have to be the experts in measuring something that we can't measure.
I know Ahmed wants to say, but Jack.
Jack caught a feeling halfway through.
No, it's because it's actually, I agree with you 100%. And sometimes I ask myself, when I go for these briefings, sometimes you have brands in place. And I think sometimes we put so much emphasis on influencers, content creators. However, if you sit back and ask yourself, because what you've just said about reading that hostage note, who's educating the brand manager, the marketing manager, Because sometimes when you're in those sessions and you're hearing a brief, for them it's almost like they're trying to tick a box, you get? But they expect a content creator or an influencer to perform magic, but you've limited them. But the reason you've picked that person is because of their creativity. So sometimes I feel that we are putting so much focus on the content creators stroke influencers, yet they're doing things right. But the brand managers, stroke marketing managers are not doing things right. And sometimes, sorry to say this, but they're also being influenced by the agencies because they want to keep what is normal, what is safe, right?
No, I mean, ultimately, and that's kind of the problem here, is that there's a business behind it. So at some point, business interests are going to rule, and people will say, if I'm the agency, a job that happens quickly is better than a job that doesn't happen because I sat there fighting for the rights of some obscure creative that I don't know. Yeah. So to that end, what they push for is compliance. And I think it was in the previous panel where they were talking about the levels of compliance that come in, because brands have these requirements of, this is our tone, here's our brand guidelines, this is how we want you to talk. And the bigger the brand, the more the rules. So it becomes honestly just impossible for someone who, this is not your job. You don't, how many people here have really taken the time to look at brand architecture and can understand things like, some of the terms we have to deal with. I know you've seen those brand guidelines that are like a novel with a small summary attached to the novel and an appendix of the terms that are native to Coca-Cola only. You don't need to know that if your audience would buy Coke from you. I should correct that and say Coca-Cola. But the point being, what we need to do and what we need to do on our end is figure out how we bridge that gap, because like you said, there's an education element that needs to go to the agencies, to the brand managers, but I feel like it's also, let's solve the problem for them. If compliance is the issue, can we create solutions that actually take care of compliance? This is a big question we've been asking. Again, I'm plugging, but it's genuinely real. This is a big question we've been asking as we built our platform, is how can we integrate compliance into this? How can we make sure that the contracts have these things already factored in so that you don't have to think about indemnity because we've thought about indemnity. You don't have to think about intellectual property because we considered it. So that you, the brand manager, are just coming in and saying, I am looking for someone to help me sell cola. And, the creator can come in and say, I can sell cola. So yeah, that's kind of the goal. It's like, let's make it simpler. Let's find the solutions that exist. And let's use the tools that are there to kind of create the impact that we want.
Thank you, Ahmed.
So I think for me, just to go and touch on the AI aspect, AI is not a threat. It is a threat in how powerful it can become, but I think AI is actually a tool. And I say that because I think we've known each other for more than almost 20 years. And we started this many, many years ago. I like telling my team this story that the first time I sent an artwork was with a fax machine. And some people have never seen, leave alone use a fax machine seated in our office today. So you'll find that technology has changed, and if you refuse to accept emails, if you refuse to accept computers, if you refuse to accept DSLRs, if you refuse to accept smartphones, you would not have achieved anything. And that's why for us AI has just become now of a tool that we can use to get to do better and do more with it. It's more like, by the way, today we've done this with one of our clients. Today we can have the exact same platform, same everything, the same Wi-Fi, same everything, brand new platform, and we'll be asked or tasked with one question from one person, and each one of us will have a different prompt. And we'll all have different answers. No one will have the same exact answer. Why I'm saying that is, it's how you communicate with your platform, and this specifically on the GPT aspect, how you prompt it, how you train it, it works for you. If you go shallow, it gives you shallow. We have something garbage in, garbage out. So if you give the just top line, you will get top line. If you go in depth, you'll be surprised. So now today, we have created a radio ad out of AI, and it's running on radio. Not a single vocal was recorded. Beats, music, jingle, voice with AI. We have videos on YouTube posted by clients that were, and they know it. They actually say it's a better approach, go for it. And it's working. So it's just how you choose to use it, where you choose to use it, why you choose to use it, and just use it as a tool, your friend, your companion, to get to do better.
I think just to add, if you allow me.
Okay.
AI is or I'll say it's one of the pillars of disruption, which ties onto the company name.
What we are known for.
That's what you know. Disrupt or get disrupted. If you look around you, from Uber, Airbnb, the Glovos, all those things, we embrace that kind of change. So it's adapt or die. So AI is not any different. It makes your work simpler, better, fine-tunes it. So I think it's about embracing these new tools that you can actually be used to better yourself. Even if you look from history, from using a djembe to what guys use these days, you know, it's just all about adapting and using the kind of new tool that we can use to better our living.
Great. You have anything to add?
Yeah, and just to add, as an influencer, you can even use, did you know you can even use AI to predict things like what's the best time to post for my platform? You can. You can generate your captions. I know everyone does that, but I'm just telling you, you can use AI to your advantage in ways that you can get more value and give more value to the client. So you need to do your research, you know, on these AI tools and how are they going to help me as a creator. Yeah.
Great. Anyone with a question? Yes, we have a question there, another question there. Someone else? We have 3 questions. Let's take these 3 questions.
Hi, my name is Irene. I work with Nzomo. I have a question for the panel. I think my takeaway from this discussion is like there should be an unlearning when it comes to coming up with campaign briefs, because I can't remember who exactly talked about we are doing we're doing marketing the same way that was done before. So my question is, do you feel like there's an ideal objectives brands or agencies should have for their campaign, other than maybe what they're used to in tracking? Thank you.
So I would not say that the basics change. Reason I'm saying that is, in everything we've done in the past, from experience, has its ways of being measured. It's what you're measuring is the question. Now, only thing that has changed is we've had more mediums. So the people, like my brother, considering content as primary, content creation as primary when it comes to from an agency point or from an interaction point. Whilst us at Disruptive, it's literally just 10% because it's an arm. So we have a media department that works on buying media, digital, traditional, and content creators, stroke influencers, stroke KOLs, and there's so many other names they call themselves. So what happens is, what we report in terms of what is needed has just become more intense, more detailed, but the basics of a brief or objective is the same. And that's when you need to understand it's not about the person, it's about the brand. It's not about who you think you are or who you command or the kind of personality you are. It's about your audience. We are interested more in your audience, because when you publish, where are you publishing it? Who are you publishing it to? You're publishing it to your audience. So the details of the reporting, yes, has changed automatically, because from a brand point, from a brand manager point, they'll ask, how many people did it reach? What was the conversion? What did they speak? How many shared? What's the brand health currently in the market? Did we see a spike? Did we get traffic? So many ETCs. So what we need to look at is those are just executions, and that comes way later. But when you come back to the brief, it's the same objective that does not change. What do we want to achieve? We want to communicate JumboJet has made flights 10 shillings for UON students moving forward. How do we do that? Now, has that been achieved, yes or no? That's now the fundamental that will never change from a briefing point of view.
I think just to add on to his point as well, I think, the fundamentals, the pillars of briefing should never really change. However, given the fact that certain modes and mediums have been increased, what you may find that needs to change or need to be unlearned is how to interpret the data that you get and how to utilize it for future campaigns. So if it's reach, if it's engagement, if it's conversions, what does that mean? Sentiment analysis, what do you need to do? I feel that's the part that when it comes to reporting, that I think that's where there needs to be a lot more emphasis around. But the briefing pillars, everything else, I think,
the one thing I wish, I'll take this as we keep on always mentioning, even when we have briefing sessions, reports are very important. Like today, if I pull out a contract sample, and I have my team here can vouch for it, the one clause that is always bold is you will not be paid without a report. I wish you knew how important, but if you knew the struggles we go through to get a report from the people we engage with, it's the worst part of the whole campaign. It's normally a mess. Then there's a lot of other things coming in. You don't know who I am. I can go online, but that's another discussion. Today we're here to encourage you, so please remember, reporting is very, very important.
Hello, my name is Ella. I'm an advocate of the High Court and a content creator. My question is specifically to Maureen and Ahmed, perhaps. So as a content creator, where or how do I become engaged with an agency, for instance? Like, do I pitch just as I do to brands, or just that basically?
Okay, there are many ways to kill a rat. So first, I'd say as a creator, you need to create content that shows value in what you do. There's a part where you define the kind of content that you'd like to create. Perhaps for you as a law professional, maybe stuff around law, or even your hobbies, your interests, being a stylist or hair, fashion, whatever, all of that. You need to clearly define your niche. Secondly, create high value content, create high quality content, create content that people want to watch till the end, people want to engage with. And thirdly, consistency. Consistency is key. These 3 steps will help brands, discover you or come to you. For the most part in my influencer career, I had brands come to me. And this was, I'd say, before COVID. And after COVID, when TikTok was a cool thing now and everyone was dancing on TikTok, I think things changed. People started pitching to brands. People started, I have an idea, I want to sell it to Safaricom. I have an idea, I want to sell it to Infinix. How can I position myself as someone who can, create content that fits the brand? So you can do both ways. You can either go the first route, which I said is just create high value content and position yourself within the kind of niche that you want to be known for, or the kind of work that you want to do. And secondly, you can definitely reach out to brands with your ideas. Ideas are expensive though, so be careful how you do that. So I'd say those are the main ways you can, get to work with brands. And also network, go to these events, like you're here now, that's a good move. Network, be a good person around people, know how to talk to people. No man is an island, of course, so networking really also helps. And just define what you really want to achieve, who you are, what value you bring to the table, and what value you need to get. Yeah.
Just to add on what she's saying, and this maybe might be just to the wider audience who are looking at content creation as a revenue opportunity. So of course, content, what you put out there, you have to be relevant, good quality, consistency, persistence, patience, all those covered. Additional to what Mo has mentioned, I'd look at it also a bit different. I'd say yes, there is that kujuana, who do you know? I will not lie, there is that. But that only comes back to how good your work is, that you keep getting more recommendations or actually real actual contracts. But let's now go back to the fact that you've just started, you have good content, you have an idea of what you're building, you don't consider yourself macro, maybe you're micro, you don't know anyone. Where do you start, right? I want you to know, being a micro today is a plus. We recently just did a campaign just a few days back, and we worked with more micros than macros, and it was a win. So don't look at yourself in terms of numbers thinking I'm not worth, or I will not crack, or I will not hack. Just do it. The second way I'll tell you to look at is their platforms. My brothers, Indahash, Frankie was here before. And the other way you can do, apart from, like, of course, finding opportunity to sign up with them, but take a list of all the agencies and brands you want to work with. There's no harm in sending your profile. Follow up with a phone call. I've sent 1 to 3 who's the right person to speak to. I'd like to just have an opportunity to be heard. Most of the time they'll tell you, just send your profile, we'll get back to you. They never do, we hardly do, but just be persistent. But the most important effective way is pay attention to brands that you know you can add value to and go for those brands directly. Then what ends up happening is 90% of the time they will refer you to the person that you can work with, and it usually works. And I'll tell you why it works, a secret. If a content creator contact comes from the client, we just have to respect, we abide by it. Now we'll say no, maybe yes, it doesn't work, doesn't align with the brand, da-da-da-da. But if the client says no, work with them. First, you'll be paid on time. Secondly, your briefs will be clearer because we know you have direct access. The gatekeeping story you heard earlier is true. We gatekeep, but there's a reason behind that. So one day we will have coffee, and I'll tell you why we do that. But it's not for any wrong reasons. It's just how the industry is. So if you approach the brands, pay attention, see where your skill set can come in. Just make a call, visit, drop an email, and the last most expensive way, do a sample. You'll be surprised. That just changes everything. We had one who did a whole podcast sample for us. This week, we're actually signing up a whole year contract with them just because they decided, you know what, send me your products, I'm not going to take money, give me this, I'll show you what I can do. The clients look at it like, okay, wow, impressive. Not big numbers, but impressive. Let's do it. And it will work. And then remember, big numbers come with big costs. Big costs dents the brand manager's budget. And if today we have found we have a bad tendency of a thin line of content creators, KOL, influencers, and celebrities. Everyone thinks they're celebrities. It becomes so hard working with big names today. We'd rather work with the smaller ones, and they're more effective from a delivery point of view. I hope that helps you.
Sorry, I just want to add something just really short to this. I know, I'm assuming, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that the main reason you'd be wanting to get to an agency is to be able to get to a brand, to be able to get access to money. I think one of the things I want to kind of leave everybody here with is just, well, not leave, I'm not leaving right now, but like one of the things I want to make sure that everybody kind of understands if you're considering content creation is there are more ways to make money as a content creator today than there ever were. When we were getting free phones on Twitter like 15 years ago, which was pretty much the total payment we got, was here's a free phone and then you have to talk about it for a month. That was pretty much it. And then at some point they started paying you for the review, and so on and so forth. And that's where influencing came from. I think someone mentioned it earlier, it was a digital PR thing. Where we are now, we saw the presentation from Meta on monetization. TikTok has monetization. There's so many other ways. Outside of that, the thing that I think, I'm now just showing off that I was here in the morning. The thing that was said right at the beginning is that content creators are entrepreneurs. There's so many other businesses you can build around your content creation. Now, means to an end, it helps to have some startup money. And if you want to go the brand route to get that, there are ways to do that. But what I would encourage more is lean into the idea of figuring out what your business is and how to grow it. There's some really fantastic people who do stuff around that. I'm just going to single out Anne. She did a whole thing on how you can grow business on TikTok on her platform, Unprepared to Entrepreneur. Please follow her. But there's resources like that out there. There's people who are sharing those insights and teaching you new ways that you can be able to turn your platform, your content, your story into money. And I think it's worth exploring each one of those when you're looking at all of these things, because you might realize that it's easier to go that route than it is to create a whole podcast or to chase brand managers down. I know brand managers who forward, and then I know brand managers who say never work with this person, because some of them get so many messages. They just like, you know what, this entire list of people have no respect for protocol, especially the ones who put it in their profile, don't email me for work, and then you email them for work. Yeah, so to some degree, it's also just finding the balance of what would work best for what I'm trying to achieve long term, and then working towards that. Long-winded, short answer.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Gilles Fashan. I'm a developer and founder of Kono Digital, and I have a question for Ahmed. So you're disruptive, and I like the ring to it. So what's your perception on taking ideas from the West and converting them to now marketing ideas here, and also considering the cultural aspect of things? And my second question is, you had mentioned about reporting and how it becomes difficult at times. So I do generate reports sometimes of my social media and things. So basically what I do is that I take a screenshot of the Instagram highlights, put it on ChatGPT, and then ask it to generate a report either with 1,000 words or 500 words and things like those. And I wanted to know, would you recommend that from now where you sit, would you recommend that for a creator or an influencer or someone like me?
I'll start with your second question. Yes, by all means, if it works, go for it. Because one thing we like, and most brand managers really like, is not just the normal textbook stuff. Tell me more about it. Give me more insight. Why was it on a specific day more engagement versus the other days at a specific time, for example? And maybe you can break it down because there was something that was happening in the country. It happened to maybe relate to 1, 2, 3. There was a football game, or the sun was out and guys were thirsty and people bought the Coca-Cola that he's talking about. And so you find that breaking it down to summarize and analyze and even give recommendation is one of the things agency loves, and you're actually doing our work, and brand they love that, because if it's about screenshots and stuff, if I just put an intern there, I can get everything. I don't want to see what I can already see if I put in the effort. Tell me what I don't know and what don't I know. And that's where your tool comes in. Now, if ChatGPT is the right tool, if it's working for you, by all means, go for it. There are others that are paid for, there are others that we use. If that's also just giving you the same, by all means, just do it. Coming to your first question in terms of getting ideas from the West and having barriers of cultural differences and trying to execute them in our local space. First, I believe we're creative enough to do our own. I believe originality relates more to us than what's out there. There's some trends that are being followed. Those are just vibes. I think one of the things we try and avoid is jump into a trend because it's just for the sake. Because the question we always ask, why? If you answer your why, whatever trend comes in, is that aligned to our North Star? No, there's no need to do it. Yeah. Depending on what idea it is, because I'll tell you one thing, yes, that West are way more advanced in terms of production, in terms of the skill set, in terms of budgets, which we don't have. We work with what we have. But when it comes to trends, if you're just doing it for the sake of it, to get your own platform running up and down, getting more views, likes, keeping it active, it works for you. But for the brand, we always ask, is it important? Is it aligned to the brand ethos that we were speaking earlier? Is it the North Star of the brand? So once we know our why from the beginning, it becomes easier. Now, from a content creation point, by the way, you will find that you might have an idea that is maybe now from the West or whatnot, but then you're already not working with the brand. So what happens then? So we've got people who got a brand trending, a product, a content trending with one of our brands without us commissioning them. But it also had a damaging impact because it is during this hot political thing in the country, and the brand was clear, stay away from politics. But they ended up doing something with the president's voice, and you're like, now where do you even start? So those are now at will discretions. Those are not brand agency commissioned, but it all comes down to, is it aligned to the objective? Is it aligned to the person you're working with or the contract that you're delivering? So if you're saying it's about skills, learn them, execute them, try them. But 100% original Kenyan content, do so much better, trust me.
Maybe just to add on to that, because maybe I was not clear on the question. Was it about trends or was it about the kind of content? Because I think
So basically, it was just from an approach point of view. For example, there's a new method of advertising using the AI and miniature. Let's say you take a product, let's say from Denry, and then you have miniature people who are just either sewing it or just on top of it, things like those. So how would you recommend taking that, for example, let alone there's different types of trends, but there's also the innovative ones such as those. What would you recommend?
Okay, cool. I think I agree with Ahmed. I think the things you want to train and perfect from the West for sure, and you can actually localize it. It makes sense. I think there was a lady on Twitter who was doing that some time back. Chef, I can't remember her second name, but Emily Chefs, exactly. Thanks. Yeah, she was using such technology, but using with localized products. And you'd find right now in the space we are in, as much as we say we're a global village, we're also very territorial in terms of the kind of content we're kind of pushing out there. So we want to embrace more of our communities and who we are. So you're finding even brands sometimes when they're doing some of the communication, they want to localize the content. And even for your own audience, what would they relate more in terms of the content? Is it something that they've never seen or experienced in the West, or something they can relate to here? So it's something also you have to look at when you're creating your content to be more viral. The kind of content I've seen in the past few years that has been very viral for me has been content in local dialect or in Sheng, more than even stuff in the Western world. So that definitely does play a part. And then I think secondly, again back to what you were saying, and I think we mentioned it earlier when it comes to reporting, the more insights and more information you give us, trust me, the higher you go into the value chain to move you want to work with. Because in the various parts, sometimes you're on a campaign, then somebody sends you a screenshot. On Paint, I may crop, I may quick up on PPT. I can do that for myself, honestly speaking. But as he said, on this day on Sunday, why were the numbers spiking? Why did you have a dip? What did you do differently?
Just to clarify on the screenshot aspect, it's that once you put the Oh yeah, no problem. So basically what I do is that I upload it to ChatGPT and then I ask it to generate a table or a Word document. Yeah. Okay.
And to advance this conversation after the panel. Yeah, so we're completely out of time, and I'll ask the panel to just give a parting shot as we come to the close of this panel. Cedric.
My mother would kill me if I didn't say ladies first. Yeah.
Okay, so for the brands, be clear. I think this comes from a place of creator, because I told you guys I play for both sides, I am the side which creates the briefs, and I'm all mics don't like me. Yeah, so I play for both sides, and just for the brands, be clear on your objectives. If you're not clear, and the influencers or the content creators won't be clear as well. For the content creators and the aspiring ones, just like I said, create consistently, network, and know what value you want to give to the brand and what value you want for yourself as well. That's my parting shot.
Okay. Yeah, I think my parting shot would be, if you want to become a professional content creator, if your goal is to make money from what you publish online and what you put out there, then two things. First, get really good at telling whatever story it is that you're telling. That part you have full control over. If you build a strong portfolio, even if the requests don't come in, when you reach out, there's something strong for people to see, and that will always have a lot of value. And the second thing I would say is evolve consistently. Just continuously move with the times and be able to adapt to all the changes that are happening. That means putting in the work, and that's the part that you kind of have to reconcile with. I can't remember his name in the morning who said you have to learn and earn at the same time. I feel like that's an important philosophy to carry with you. It's just that you need to continuously evolve, and for you to continuously evolve, you need to continuously be abreast of what's happening, how things are moving, how things are changing, and stay on top of it. If you are the best at what you do and you are the most current at what needs to be known in your space, that puts you in a very small percentage of people that we can possibly work with. That would put you in a very ideal space for any brand, any agency that wants to work with you, any platform that wants to partner with you, and any consumer that wants to engage with content that's not what they see on the regular. So build your value through those two things, and sign up for zaomu.com. There's a team outside. They're happy to take you through the platform. It costs you nothing and it can earn you a lot. Cheers.
I want to assume that you're looking at content creation as a revenue source. My only advice or other message would be honest with yourself. Be real, be honest, and don't hesitate that you don't have a certain equipment or skills to publish your content, and you will hold back because of that. Just be natural, be yourself, just put it out there. The biggest mistake we most do is we're looking for perfection, and then we forget originality. Just be yourself. Look at the most successful content creators today in Kenya. Did not start planned. It started as an accident. They started by just showing off their cooking videos. Tomorrow they're hired out there. They started off as a radio presenter, just as a career. They ended up becoming what they did. They started as dancers, just showing off their good, nice dance moves. They ended up becoming content creators, earning them lots of money. Some can even be advocates at the High Court of Kenya, talking about how to go about copyrights. We have that biggest problem with copyrights today. There's a whole cartel that takes money from us. There's that aspect of educating, and you'll be surprised. It's just you'll find that spot, that sweet spot will come. Just be yourself, be natural, be honest with yourself, and you'll be amazed by how you will end up growing if you look back 6-7 months after where you started. And that's where now you'll understand that who your audience is and where the direction you're heading. So yes, don't stop doing it, keep doing it, don't hesitate. Publish, be honest.
Okay, so the issue of going last is all the nice things have been said. So mine will be very brief. I think remain teachable, irrespective of who and what position you have or where you are. And then finally, please just consume Pulse content. Yeah, we don't have a sign up. Just load, and you'll see us. Please. Thank you very much, and do enjoy your day.
Thank you very much for that insightful conversation. Let's appreciate them again with a clap. Thank you.